Welcome to Voices for Care, where we dive deep into the critical issues facing Canada's childcare sector. Today, we're honored to have Sarah Hunter with us, a resilient and dedicated childcare entrepreneur from Calgary. Sarah's journey in the childcare world began in her youth, working at Riverbend Daycare, a center founded by her mother in 1987. Over the years, Sarah has become an integral part of the community and of families' lives. In 2021, faced with the closure of Riverbend, Sarah took a bold step. She invested her life savings along with support from her mother and loans to open up the Imagination Tree. This new venture reflects her commitment to providing high-quality, play-based childcare services, despite the financial hurdles and significant challenges posed by government policies aimed at reducing childcare costs. Sarah's story is one of passion, perseverance, and the love for the families she serves. Set against the backdrop of navigating the complex landscape of childcare policy, today she's here to share her insights, experiences, and the realities of operating a childcare center under the federal government $10 a day childcare plan. I feel like we have heard a lot about the intentions of the $10 a day program and what it could do for Canadians since it's rolled out 3 years ago, but very little about what it's actually doing for Canadians. I think we can all agree that we want to see affordable childcare, we want to see accessible childcare for all families. And I think a lot of times when we're having these discussions, I know I've faced this from the association standpoint, just because we're discussing it and we're pointing out some of the cracks and the issues doesn't mean that we don't want it. It doesn't mean that we don't want it to work, right? I mean, you signed into this program, I signed into this program because we believed in it. And we do want affordable childcare, but we want it to work. You don't want it just to be a headline, right? You know, the childcare sector is seeing this push to a $10 a day model, $10 a day average, but we're really not hearing anything other than we've met these benchmarks for affordability, you know, yay, we're making $10 a day affordable for BC, or we're at $15 a day for Alberta. We're hearing these from policymakers, politicians, researchers, other organizations, but no one's really asking the operators, like, how is this working for you? What is this like on the ground? And I think whenever we're transforming a whole industry, a whole sector, we should be talking to the people who actually work in it and have their boots on the ground and can tell us, like, this is working or it's not working, or my parents are struggling because of these things. So I'm very grateful for you because you have continued to really bring a voice to what's actually happening in your center and what it's like to be a center who signed into the $10 a day program. I know it's not always easy to be the voice of that and to push back against the narrative that this is a really great thing. So thank you very much. And I'm hoping to hear from you, you know, what has it been like? Why did you, I guess one of the things I'd like to start with you is, what did you think it was going to be like when you signed that agreement in your inbox in January of 2022? What did you think was going to happen for your families and for yourself?
Well, I naively thought that this was going to be the most amazing time in childcare that Alberta has actually ever seen. Having been in this industry for over 30 years, I thought this was kind of a new era, a new beginning, and it was going to benefit all. That was what I naively thought at the time. That's not how it transpired, as we all know, unfortunately. No. It's actually been the most stressful time I think I've ever experienced in the industry, and just for me personally in my lifetime. It's just been so incredibly stressful and continues to be very stressful. And I think, you know, the part of the job that I enjoy the most is to be able to connect with my families and spend time with the children and pride ourselves on having quality programming. But really the focus has shifted to me sitting in the office, desperately trying to make the financials work so that we can open tomorrow and that we can open next week. And that's not what I signed up for. No. I don't have a strong business background. I have a strong early childcare background. And so that wasn't what I had ever envisioned me having to do.
No, I feel that. I'm living it as an operator as well. And I think something that has been really hard for me to process as Canadian, as an Albertan, is that we were sold this program You know, we were really sold that this was going to be something that was such a great thing for all these intentions around affordability when life is so expensive. You know, really is something that resonated with me and with the families that I serve in my center, and kind of piecing it together over the last 2 years and seeing like this isn't working, but no one's talking about it. You know, like I felt very alone and sometimes very paranoid because I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong that this isn't working? Why is this, you know, why can I not pay my bills every month? Why am I so stressed out about financial things? Why, like you say, why am I in the office trying to juggle finances more than I'm on the floor working with the children, which is why I'm here, right? And I think that, you know, having more people finally come out and say, like, this is, I'm living this too. This isn't working for me. This is what's happened to my center. Hopefully we'll get someone to listen and we can, you know, stop this before it just destroys our childcare sector. One of the things,
100%.
you know, that resonated with me when I came to your center, when I've spoken with you, is that this is a family business.
Yes.
Your mom started her center in 1987. Nine, okay.
87. No, you're right. 87.
87, and you know, you guys are there together. I met your mom in the kitchen of your center, and I can't imagine, like, what is she thinking of this? How's she processing this $10 a day program?
I think that she's shocked and horrified. I think a part of what's not being spoken about from operators, which surprises me and makes me feel very alone as well. And I'm not sure if it's coming from a fear-based idea that they're just afraid to speak out. But when I decided to take that leap and open my own center, that was supposed to be a private business. That was supposed to be a private family business that we invested our money into and our time and expertise and the years that we'd spent in the sector, so that we would have control over how we operated on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, we'd put the real work into opening the center. And I was really proud to be able to do that. And it seems like sitting here with you today, I don't get to make any of the operational choices for my center. I'm handcuffed by the financial restraints of this $10 a day program. Some of the stories I could share with you about literally sitting in parking lots in my car crying because I don't know how I'm going to afford to buy the groceries for that day to feed those children. Yeah. And then having to come up with creative ways, such as I've even gone so far as to call some of my, you know, most trusted parents and say, can you please send next month's fees to me early? Could you send them now? I need to buy groceries. I need to pay a staff member, whatever the case may be. And just feeling so defeated and unprofessional and feeling like I was a failure as a business owner because I'm actually sitting in this parking lot right now begging for money so that I can operate my center. And it makes me angry to think about the times that I've had to do that, and really still continues sometimes to have to ask for parents to send fees early or help me out in other ways. It's humiliating and not what I signed up for. Nothing that had ever happened in the previous 30 years that we've been operating childcare centers. We always managed to make the financials work. And so it just makes me feel, I just feel humiliated about having to do those things. And I don't think it's fair that I should have to do it.
No one should. And I think like I've experienced the same. I'm a private business owner in a childcare center as well. And I think, you know, what I've realized over the last 2 years of this rollout is that there's shame. We are shamed for saying that childcare costs money, that there's shame around saying I personally invested in this space and I deserve a return on my investment. I deserve a salary. I deserve to be able to go to sleep at night and know that I am not having to leverage my house to make sure that I pay my rent at my business. This is, I think, something that has really happened that has kept us silent as private business owners in a childcare space, is that every time we speak up, the quick response is that we're greedy, that we're putting profit before the child. And I can say wholeheartedly that is not the case. I can say that the business model that I have experienced as a private operator does not dictate the quality of my care or my intentions to put children first. I think it actually, in my program, in your program, it makes us better childcare operators because we had control. We could make those investments back without waiting for a board to decide or those kind of things. And yeah, we've lost our businesses. This is the expropriation of our businesses. And I think that that's something I encourage new operators to do in our association is start taking control of your business again. Put your voice back out there and say, this is my business. It's okay to have a business. And I think that I would love to see some media around, the business side of childcare, but not in a shameful way, because we were here in this space. We invested in this space. We created these programs. This federal program has rolled through and taken over our sector, but we are still here. So I don't know how we're going to coexist in this space moving forward. We could look at things like a federal buyout if that's the way they want to go, I guess, right? There's always options, but doesn't feel very.
They own our businesses, but they didn't pay us for them.
No.
They didn't buy, they stole them, in essence. And so, if I'd have opened a restaurant instead of a childcare center, would I be shamed for increasing my fees because food costs have gone up? Or,
exactly.
If I didn't open a different kind of business, the shame isn't there. And I'm not sure why it is with our businesses, because at the end of the day, yes, we love the children. I do put lots of money back into the center. We've always done that. But why am I being shamed into wanting a return on the huge amounts of money that we actually invested initially? It's really strange. I find it very strange that and I feel that shame. I really do.
Me too.
I don't know why, but I think that that's kind of the message that we've been given, is that we should just be quiet and carry on and just do what's right for the children. But really, it's not sustainable.
No. I mean, I've sat in meetings with ministers in the last year where I've been told right to my face that this is not an issue. These are not issues. Maybe you as private businesses need to learn how to run your businesses better. That's why you're failing. And I find even that narrative from ministries that are supposed to be supporting operators and families is so shocking to me, because I'm thinking my business was just fine. Your business was just fine prior to this. So, we were okay. What has changed? It hasn't been our business practices. The one thing that has changed is the federal takeover of our businesses, right? And I think it again is just, we haven't been a sector that has had a voice. Operators really haven't had an association until recently. We haven't spoken up because most of us have our head down and we're working with kids all day. And I hope that changes. I hope that more people like you, more operators share that this isn't working. We need to do something to fix this before we lose our childcare. Because I think when financially things aren't working, what's going to happen is that we're going to either see centers closing, you're going to see reduction in quality, reduction in staffing, all the things that really support the children are going to be what's lost. And I don't know how you feel about that, but what are you seeing as you're moving forward? What kind of cuts? What are you having to do in your center to keep it viable under this program?
Well, many things, and it kind of changes, it evolves. I think the biggest thing actually that's also not being spoken about very much is a huge waitlist crisis that we have. I mean, I could fill another center. I'm sure many operators could fill centers tomorrow with their waitlist. And so under normal circumstances, I would have opened another center. I would have expanded so that I can help those families that are sitting on those waitlists. And those are real people with real stories that come to my door in tears saying, we've just arrived from the Ukraine and we desperately need to rebuild our lives. We desperately need childcare. Or I'm a single mom and I need to go to work and I desperately need childcare. They're not just waitlists of people that don't have a story. It's very real for me. It's a very real waitlist. And so I feel as if that's another part of this, is that we're not going to expand or open new centers under this model when we're not going to see any return for additional investment. That's just not something that we're going to do. And so those families will not ever be able to access this program, which means it's pointless to me. If you can't access a $10 a day program, it doesn't really mean anything. And so, not being able to expand or open additional spaces actually upsets me on a personal level, that I can't help the families that I desperately want to help. Some of the other things is, well, there's definitely no paychecks happening for the family. So we're kind of doing this best we can with very little for ourselves, which is okay for a short term, but I don't know with the long-term viability of not being able to pay myself, but really desperately just trying to get money to landlords and get money to staff members and pay for groceries is all I'm able to do right now. And so it's a tight line. I'm not sure if a professional accountant was to take my books, I'd probably just say, why are you doing this?
Exactly.
You know, why are you fighting this? Because it's not viable financially. And so I feel like I'm fooling myself. Most days I go and I'm like, we're going to make it work. You know, we'll ask a parent to send their fees early so we can do this. And then, but we're borrowing from the future to pay for today. And you can't keep doing that. You just can't keep doing that. And that's not going to work for us. And so I'm desperately looking for a long-term plan with changes to this affordability agreement so that we can remain operational, and not only that, remain a quality center providing quality programming. I had to cut my music program, but graciously, one of my family stepped up and paid for it for a whole year for me.
Wow.
It was absolutely amazing. I know, it was incredible. So like I do have an amazing support system of families at the center, but really without them, I'm not sure. I don't think we'd be having any enriched programming right now. But, you know, is it their job to pay for that for the year so that all the other children can have music or art? It's not really.
No.
And I felt a little bit ashamed accepting it, but I really desperately wanted to keep our music program, and that was kind of the only way we were able to do it right now. And so, yeah, it's a very difficult situation.
I know, like I've heard from other operators, like food services being cut, like you said, music services, field trips, those kind of things are being cut. And I think it's important to point out here, these are not just private operators who aren't meeting a bottom line that are having to cut programs. This is across the sector, nonprofit, for profit, all of us. And I think that the issue around this is that, I mean, we just have to look at our own grocery bills at home, our heating bills, everything has gone up. Childcare across the board has been locked into frozen fees from 2021, 2022, with very little increases. We're getting 3% increases if we're lucky per year, and it's not meeting the cost. So it's like a further, like you said, you're always borrowing from the future to pay for.
Always borrowing. Yeah. We can't continue to do that. It's not viable. And, you know, I just think that we should at least be getting increases to meet inflation at the very least. My costs of running my center last year were up 18%.
I know.
Overall, how can I manage with a 3% increase? It just doesn't work, and it won't work. And so I just think that something needs to change on that front. That the freezing of the fees it's just so debilitating. It's hard to even function.
It is, yeah. And I mean, like you say, everything's gone up. My WCB went up. I'm sure yours did. Insurance, heating, rent, all of it, right?
And my rent went up another $1,000 a month. Actually, last week I got the notice. So how am I going to pull this money in if I can't raise my fees? It just doesn't make any sense.
You're handcuffed, right? Like you just, there's nowhere to go with this.
There isn't.
I think, you know, even talking about the accessibility and the wait lists, I've seen that the numbers that are being advertised, or not advertised is maybe not the right word, but celebrated in the media and through politics, really show that there is spaces being created. There's, you know, they're hitting all these benchmarks. But I think what we're failing to see is that when we rolled this program out in 2021, it instantly created demand. People that could not afford childcare before suddenly could and put their names on the wait list. We're also seeing, I think, something that people don't mention is that life costs a lot more right now. And unfortunately, most families have to have both parents working. So that mom or that parent that maybe could have stayed at home with the child now has to look at childcare because they have to go to work because they can't afford life in Canada right now without both parents working at least one job each, right? And I was doing a little bit of research yesterday and I was shocked. Like I knew the wait list. I mean, we're very aware of what's happening here across the country, but I was shocked at how bad it is from coast to coast. I went through each province to see where the wait lists are, and some of the things, like there was not a province that had no issues with wait lists. I mean, we're always probably going to have wait lists, but there shouldn't be wait lists where there's thousands of children sitting on them. And I don't see, like when you're stripping a sector of any kind of investment and you're adding bureaucracy and adding all this red tape to opening space is how we'll ever actually get this program to the point that parents can access it. And if without access, like you said, it doesn't exist. I mean, we can call it $10 a day childcare, but if you can't get a spot, you're paying full price or you're not getting a spot, right? Like it just,
You're not even get your child into the center. That's the reality.
yeah. I was just, I don't know if you watched the federal announcement last week, but one other organization, Childcare Now, made a statement that these wait lists are a positive. They show that there is the success of the $10 a day program. And I'm like, I don't know about you, but I don't see the wait list. I don't see, I think because maybe we're on the ground and we meet the parents and the faces behind the name on the wait list, we don't feel that that shows popularity for a program or success for a program. I mean, this might be a harsh comparison, but I thought of a food bank and I'm thinking when you see a lineup at a food bank, you don't walk by and think, wow, what a successful program, what a success and what a celebration of affordability for Canadians. And that's the same when you see a lineup of children and families waiting for an affordable childcare space. So I just find that this constant narrative to try and show the success behind this program instead of having a real conversation and not pointing fingers at each other, but like, let's try and figure this out because our future is depending on it, right?
Not only that, our children's future, the children in our center's future.
Yeah. What would you say, like, if you could talk to government, federally, provincially, like you as an operator, you are someone who is living the $10 a day program on the ground, not researching from a desk somewhere or imagining all of what it could be, but actually living the reality. What would you say? What would you ask for?
I'd ask for my business back, Crystal. I need my business back so that I can make decisions for my business and so that I can structure it in a way that's viable for it to remain operational. That would be what I would ask for. I feel like that's my right as a business owner to be able to make those decisions. I would very much like to be able to expand my business to help the families on my wait list. And I need my fees to be uncapped and unfrozen so that I can at least have them at the point where it covers my operational costs. And I don't think that's a huge ask as a private business owner. I think that that would be my right, given the investment that I have, put forth and the years I've spent in the industry. I think that that would be something that should be given to us as operators. We need to be given our businesses back.
Knowing what you know now, experiencing what you've experienced, would you sign into this program? Like when you opened that email, like I did back in January of 2022, would you still sign it?
I would not. No, I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. I think it was not a good day's work when I signed that. But I signed it naively. I don't think it had really been explained to us or would be given any input, time to kind of meet at the table and discuss it. I think we were left out of the agreement in a lot of ways. Our opinions were not put forth. So I think we signed it naively without the full facts. And I know I did. I definitely did not have the information. But I think I felt pressured to sign it as well because everyone else was signing it and we wanted to be, remain competitive. We wanted to be able to, and not only that, but we did want our families to have the affordability. I mean, I want that for my family. And I think if I hadn't, there would have been guilt surrounding that decision also that I didn't sign it. So my family wouldn't be able to access it. So it was kind of a no-win. It was like, if you didn't sign it, I couldn't see a way forward, and having signed it, I still don't see a way forward.
No, I think something important too about signing it, I know for myself, is if I hadn't signed it at that day, I would have lost the wage top-ups for my staff. My low-income families would have lost access to the subsidy. So it wasn't just the affordability grant, it was those things that really, I feel like we were coerced into this program because how do you pay your staff even a fraction of what they're worth? Because ECEs, we all know, are not getting paid well in the province and absolutely deserve a lot more without wage top-ups. I mean, for your level 3, that's $8.62 an hour that's out of pocket, that comes out of the pockets of parents because they're the ones paying for the care. It was just there was no choice. There's never been a choice, I don't think. And I think
there really was a choice, Crystal. There really was not. And not only but during that time we were in a bit of a staffing crisis in Alberta. I think we still are to a certain degree. I would have lost my staff. My staff would have probably gone to a program that was able to offer them the wage top up. And rightly so. They need that to survive as well.
exactly.
And so it wasn't a possibility. That the option of not signing wasn't actually an option.
No. I guess moving forward, what do you see in the future right now for childcare? What do you see for, I guess, like we have hopefully 2 years left of this program, where it's at. If it doesn't change, if no one listens to what people are saying and realizes that there's some major issues across the country, where do you see this ending up? What do you see childcare looking like when we get to 2026 and hit that $10 a day?
I think it's a frightening prospect. I don't feel hopeful, to be honest with you, unless there's some big changes fairly quickly. I think that many of us will lose our businesses under this program. I think I will, for sure. The whole way that this has been rolled out and the logistics of this program just need to be changed. One thing that I was going to mention is that always during the past 30 years, my mum and I were talking of how families were always means tested for funding. You know, our lower income families were able to access the subsidy. Our families that had higher incomes did not. I have families in my center that the mum and the dad are engineers or, you know, work in the medical profession or the oil and gas sector. And they've said to me, well, we don't actually need the affordability grants. Give them to somebody else. Give them to a lower income family. And I say, well, that's very kind of you, but that's just not how this works. I'm not able to do that. So I think that, you know, the way that the affordability grants work with everyone just having them regardless of their income is odd and doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. The other thing I'm really concerned about is the thought of this cost control framework. I think we're going to end up with a two-tiered, divided, center with children that, the haves and the have-nots that some get to have the enriched programming and some do not. And I have no interest in running a center like that. I really pride myself on being inclusive and for everyone to be able to have access to my programming. And so that's something that I'm really afraid is going to happen as well, even, if we survive to that point even. And so right now, I think the future looks pretty bleak, to be honest.
I feel that too. Is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap up? Is there anything I haven't really touched on?
I think honestly, I really hope that operators can start to be a little bit more transparent about their personal stories so that we can help each other. There's power in numbers, and I do feel quite alone in my journey. And I think we need to just let go of this shame that we're all feeling, and we need to get together and just share and be supportive of one another. I think that's where the real change. I think we do have power if we're together and we voice our opinions together, that we can maybe get some real change on this affordability program. But as it sits right now, I think we're all struggling privately with the same issues.
Yeah.
And I think unless we really speak up, the changes are not going to come soon enough. And we will lose our childcare centres, and then this country won't have any childcare. I can't imagine how that will affect our economy. I mean, childcare is a huge part of the economy. And like you say, parents have to work now to survive financially most of the time. And I think it's a crisis, but it's not being seen as a crisis. Yeah. It's not being voiced as a crisis, but it is very much one. And I just pray and hope that we can, our voices are heard and we can make some changes. And maybe we could be involved in the decision-making process. Maybe we just all need to come back to the table and just sit down and say, this isn't working. We need it to be changed and have a bit of a collaboration. And I feel like that didn't happen initially with disagreement. We weren't involved in the process of it, and that's why it's not working. They didn't really understand how it would affect us on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that would be really nice to see as well.
I 100% agree. And, I'm optimistic. I'm holding space for some optimism that we can make some change. I feel like our little province of Alberta has made a bit of a stir with this, and I hope we can continue to kind of light a fire under the other provinces that it's okay, like you said, to make a profit in your business, to get a return on your investment, and to stand up and say, this is not working. Let's not pass blame around anymore. Let's sit at the table together and fix it. So very grateful for you to be here today, and for always your support. And I hope to see your doors of your beautiful program stay open forever, because you do have such a beautiful center and an amazing team. So, yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm so very grateful of your support and the work that you do. And yeah, it was a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey through the heart of Canada's childcare sector. We hope you found inspiration, insight, and a call to action that resonates with you. But our conversation doesn't end here. The quest for high-quality childcare is ongoing, and your voice is essential in this collective journey. Stay connected and continue to be part of this crucial dialogue by following Voices for Care on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to receive updates on new episodes, and share with friends and family to broaden our community of advocates. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of children and families across Canada. Don't forget to reach out via our social media channels with your thoughts, stories, and ideas for future episodes. Your input helps shape our mission and the future of childcare in our country. Until next time, keep raising your voice for care, because every child deserves a bright start, and every parent is entitled to the choice and care for their family. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Voices for Care.